What up, y'all? It's Season Love, SENLUV, that's Suwapi, and welcome to another episode of the Money Healing Monologues. Over here at the Money Healing Monologues, I like to open up a space to speak about the development of Black wealth, health, and excellence. So join me every single Monday where I like to reiterate, reteach, and dissect some shit that I just think us as a Black community should speak about. And of course, the purpose of this is to open up a conversation. So please feel free to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if I ruffled some feathers, whatever the case may be, let me know what's tea. Today, on episode 34 of the Money Healing Monologues, we will be talking about the cost of living. The little note that I put here next to the title was that capitalism bred a consumer-based society. So all we know how to do naturally is to consume, whether that be, physically, like we're eating things, the things we put on our skin, the things like, skincare, makeup, you know what I mean? All those things we have to consume internally or externally. And then, with our mind through media like this or like podcasts and books and things like that, we're always consuming something. We're always consuming something on a day-to-day basis, and that's just how this society kind of works. As you know, and if you don't, I like to go down who, what, where, when, why, and how format, and the how will always be a question that is down below in the description box if you're listening in on YouTube, and in the question box if you're listening in on Spotify, Anchor, or Apple Podcasts. Starting me off with my who, I said, who does this affect? I said it affects everyone living right now. Like if you're breathing right now, it definitely affects you, the cost of living. Everything costs money, like I said, because we're a consumer-based society. So that means that people need money. And that's just the kind of cycle that we live in day in and day out. Like, we gotta get money so we can spend money. And then when we spend money, we're gonna have to make more money so that we can have more money. And then when we have more money, we can spend more money. It's just a never-ending cycle of just buying and then working and then buying and then working. My second point under who does this affect? Cost in general affect everybody because this is a consumer-based society, but the cost of living for sure affects everybody because we all deserve a roof over our head. And as you can see by the rate of homelessness today, not everybody has the privilege of having a roof over their head simply because of the cost of living right now, which leads me into my next point, the what. And my question was, what is the cost of living right now? And I researched two things. What's the cost of living in the US and what's the cost of living in NYC alone? So the cost of living in the US is in the range of $2,500 to $3,500 per month. That's OD. That's crazy. You want 2.5 bands every single month? And we're not even talking about mortgage payments. We're talking about, I think this was just for rent that I looked up. With when it comes to owning property, like, there's different variations of that, whether you have a fixed mortgage or, you're doing it some other way. That's a whole different kind of ball game. But majority of people today are renters. And that is for a reason, in my opinion. And in NYC, actually, the difference between like the cost of living in the US, which is like the median number of like just the general average of everybody's rent in the US, for NYC, it is 365% higher. So the average median rent in NYC alone is about around $6,000. That's really crazy. That's really fucking beastie. That is actually ridiculous. And of course, all of this is depending on location. The prices will vary based on where exactly you're located in the U.S. and where exactly you're located in NYC. But that's OD. We already know that's just an absurd amount of money to be putting into a place to stay, and it's not even a permanent place to stay. It's somewhere that is supposed to be temporary. hence the rent, because it's not like the rent necessarily goes to, you paying off that apartment like a co-op would, but it's just, you're just spending that fucking bread, to keep that roof over your head for as long as you can afford it. I don't know. Something to think about. Moving me into my where, I ask, where does this renter-based society lead us? So like I said, majority of people in, I guess, the U.S. right now, I would say, are renters. And I said that it leads us to literally be broke because, like I was saying, when it comes to renting specifically, you're not investing that money into like a specific place. It's a payment to the landlord that keeps that roof over your head. Rightfully so, of course. You have to pay for where you live because, there's certain, amenities and like the structure, people built that house and, people have to get paid at the end of the day. And that's usually what it always comes down to, which is why it's so easy for us as people to submit to whatever price is given to us because it's like, damn, okay, I need this thing, you know what I mean? And like this person has to get paid for their energy and their time and, their resources. So I have no choice but to give them the money that's in my account. But I think that this renter mindset clouds us from the actual goal, in my opinion, of owning property and assets, because I feel like owning a property is an asset. And all black people here, if you're black and you're listening to this, we all deserve our 50 acres and a mule. For surezies, 100%. But I think that because of the lack of education in our community on housing specifically, we just don't know about things like that. We don't have time to figure things like that out, especially because like we have to give all our energy to working to even afford the rent that we have to pay right now. So do you see the cycle that's being perpetuated that keeps us in this loop of having to scrap for more money? This space here, the Money Healing Monologues, is for us to think deeper on these things. So think deeper about why you're paying the amount of rent that you're paying right now. Of course, apartments aren't supposed to be a long-term thing. I mean, in a, and then that perception is also warped in a way too, because who tells us that, we have to be renting for a temporary amount of time and then we have to buy a house and da-da-da. There's so many stereotypical ways to go about putting a roof over your head, but the common denominator of all of it, regardless of what you do, is that the price is just too fucking high. And I feel like it's something that landlords and, government officials in each district take advantage of. Because at the end of the day, people set these prices. Actual people like you and I set these prices without the consumer in mind at all. The consumer in mind in a way of like, okay, how can I milk as much money out of these people as I can in this one transaction? Then moving me into my when, I ask, when do we experience freedom from this? When we stop accepting it. And it sounds easier said than done, because it is. The conversation that revolves around the said revolution that is needed for our society to truly go through or start our transformative period into a better society, a more sustainable society that not only helps sustain us as people, but also helps sustain the earth, because as everyone can see, the earth is dying. I think that once we stop accepting the prices that are projected onto us, because the person can set the price and think that people are just gonna buy it just because they said that that's the price. And that's why I feel like it's more of a collective thing and it's more of an awareness thing, a knowledge thing, because I simply think that this is the cost of living got this high simply because of the lack of knowledge around it, especially for our community. I don't think a lot of us know a lot about housing and, the different tenant laws and, just how to even buy a house, start investing in property and things like that. I feel like the black people that got it are doing so much to maintain it and sustain it in their own corner of the world. You know what I mean? And it's not their responsibility to spread the knowledge either. But I think that it's so important to raise awareness to us needing the knowledge, you know what I mean? So that people can start actually thinking to themselves like, okay, wait, I do have a choice. You know what I'm saying? I do have a choice whether I want to accept this price or not. That also leads into just, how much people are getting paid, how much people can afford with the job that they have right now. There's so many different factors that play into us accepting the cost of living right now, because right now in this present moment, like, we can think about, like, the past and, like, how did it get like this, how did it get this high, da-da-da, but at the end of the day we know that the answer is because people want more money, and people want to milk more money out of more people so that they can hoarder all of it for themselves. Like I said, we live in a consumer-based society. People want more money so that they can consume more, and money comes with power and, more problems and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But how we shift this energy is by recognizing that we do have a choice, and 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 providing ourselves with the knowledge, allowing ourselves to be curious about the shit that we're actually paying for. Like, okay, what's really in these skincare products that I'm continuously buying on a repeated basis? Is there a smaller business that I can be investing my money into? You know what I mean? This consumer-based society also perpetuates the idea, or just the concept, of these big warehouse buildings that have to mass produce things in order to get it to so many different people, which isn't an issue. Is it a sustainable way to go? I'm not sure. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? All these different ideas are popping up here. But again, the common denominator always boils down to, like, okay, the price is too high right now, so what are we going to do about it? We need to learn more about all of these different aspects of the housing market and understand where we're being taken advantage of. And then finally, moving me into my why, I asked, why is this important? Of course. And I said, society is shifting. We are shifting into a new world. As you know, we are in the age of Aquarius. Like giving you guys specific answers and details, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys deserve that clarity. So I'm always going to take my time to research something before I reiterate it to you guys. Because you deserve the facts, you know what I'm saying? Think of the earth, it has different ages, different stages, you know what I'm saying? And each of those different stages have a sign that correlates to it, based on different research by astrologers and things like that. But the product of Earth's slow precessional rotation and lasts for 2,160 years on average. Right now, we're in an age where where the world is maneuvering in a way where we're having more realizations. Because understanding astrology is understanding that as above, so below. Meaning the things that happen above or outside of us or around us, as far as the earth, the stars and the moon and the sun, and even the people that are around us, that is all a reflection of our internal world. So all of that affects us in some way, shape, or form. So the age of Aquarius shows us that this is a beautiful time for awakenings and perspective shifts and just complete 360s in ways of thinking. Old beliefs are being torn to shreds, and dissected and seen through. You know what I mean? My generation specifically is definitely not standing for no shit. We're not keeping any job that we don't like. We're not staying anywhere that doesn't serve us. You know what I mean? It's that energy of forward movement and expansive movement more so. understanding that we have shifted into a new age, and meaning that this world is shifting more and more and more and more as the days go by. It's really that time to clear the fog of the past and start to move forward with clarity and understanding and acceptance, so that we can breed a different type of society that caters to all of us as people on this beautiful earth that we live on. I believe that that's where we're heading. I believe that spaces like this open up or connect us to this new reality that we are manifesting, where we can have open conversations and get to the root of our issues and start maneuvering through our life with clarity. Because we all deserve that clarity. You know what I'm saying? We all deserve the clarity to know, okay, why am I getting charged this much for this? And be able to have a say in that, or whatever consensus we come to as people. This was a very expansive topic. I really appreciated this one. If you don't know, I am now doing the Money Healing Monologues every month, once a month. Still going to be on a Monday. At first I said it was going to be every first Monday, and I want to try to stick to that, even though this is the second Monday of June. But, I think that I like being able to take my time and flesh out these episodes a bit more than I used to. Let's get into our how, which will always be a question that is down below in the description box if you're listening in on YouTube, and in the question box if you're listening in on Spotify, Anchor, or Apple Podcast. So, the question for this week is, how does the cost of living in your specific area affect you? How does the cost of living in your specific area affect you? Now, of course, I'm going to answer for you guys. God, what a question. Oh, my goodness. Well, as you know, I live in NYC, and I have lived all over NYC. I've lived in Brooklyn. I've lived in Manhattan. I've lived in the Bronx now. I stay up in the Bronx. I've lived in Queens for a few. I've lived all over NYC simply because of literally the cost of living, you know what I mean? Whether it was that we couldn't afford to stay where we were staying anymore, or the prices raised, so now we're getting pushed out. There's so many different factors that come into not being able to afford the rent in a specific area. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that one of the places that me and my family had to move out of was a space that was getting turned into like smaller apartments, so that he can rent it out to more people, so that he can basically flip the property for more than he was getting at that time. So my family and I had to move out with no, I'm saying, well, we got like a week's warning or something like that, just a notice on the door saying that, yo, we gotta go. A lot of fucked up shit like that be happening, to people just like me, and I'm sure somebody else listening to this can relate to that as well, where it's just like, when it comes to landlords, people that own these different properties, it's about them and how much money that they can make. And it's either you can afford it or you can't. Which really sucks, because not everybody can always afford it. And, that keeps us in that perception where it's like, okay, I gotta make more bread. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's specifically, like, the cost of living is what triggered my cycles of being a workaholic. You know what I mean? Seeing my family go through a hardship, like not having a roof over our head, that's a lot mentally and emotionally. You know what I'm saying? And then it ends up being a lot physically, because all I want to do is work. All I can do is work, because I have to make money in order to sustain somewhere to live. You know what I mean? And housing issues are common in the US. Housing issues are common in NYC specifically for that very reason, that these landlords do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah. That's how I feel about it, though. I wonder how you feel about it. Please comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Answer the question. I would love to know what your perception is. If you have any questions about anything that I said or any thoughts about anything that I said, you can also let me know that down below too. But on that note, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Money Healing Monologues. I really appreciate you guys for being here. And don't forget to follow our social media pages. I created an Instagram and a TikTok for this show. So go ahead and keep up with us on our Instagram pages. I will be posting way more content on there. I haven't this past month, but I do plan on just flooding the timeline with way more content for this show specifically. So please feel free to interact on there. You know what I mean? I love having conversations with people that are aligned with a certain message, regardless of what episode it is. If you'd like to talk about it, don't feel free to, DM us, and, we could talk through it. Let's have some discussions and shit like that. Because like I said, the point of this is to shift perspectives, So, yeah, I'm going to see you guys in the next one.